something, specifically the microphone. Damn it. All right, let's do this. There we go. Okay, second week of using this clip-on microphone, which I forgot until the very last moment. All right, just getting this in. Oh, yeah. Yes, I know. We have gone early, a little live this evening, folks. That's, I actually just decided to do that a few minutes ago, largely because well, I've been doing my best to try to prepare everything in advance this evening. So we're not really, folks who show up at 8 o'clock really are not missing anything, I promise. It's only this way we will have a little bit of extra time so that I can shred some chicken. And at least, if nothing else, we get to show you a nice piece of cast iron here. There we are. Close the oven. I can turn that off. And while we're at it, turn off the oven. I can also start slowly heating up the burners on the stove top. This is why I'm doing this live, because that way you can do this without having to move having to move the camera around. There we are. I have 2 cast iron pans heating up on the stove top here, and we will be seeing those in a few minutes. But right now, nonetheless, let me raise this a little bit for you. There we go. Here is a look at a number 10 Griswold, in fact. Which I've had in the oven for the past 5 hours or so. Here's the lid for anybody who wants to see it. Yeah, actually, yeah, I guess you could say this chicken is done, but I'm simply all I did was I coated this chicken. Now I have to find a place for this hot lid. Here we go. We can put this here. All I did was coat this chicken with Old Bay seasoning, in fact, which is what I'm going to be using in the gumbo, and stuck it in the oven. It's been going since about 2:30, 1:30, I think, about 2:30 p.m. So it's been going on for about 6 hours or so. That way, it's good enough to shred, and that way we will be able to throw this into the gumbo. Just as important, I'm hoping. It looks like I've got a microphone connection as well. So let's start shredding, shall we? Yes, indeed. This is nice and easy, slow cooked chicken. Or I could probably just eat this myself. Maybe I'll just do that and cancel the live. No, just kidding, folks. Hot though. Okay. Yeah, I got the brilliant idea of making gumbo during the live tonight, and that is what's going to happen. However, I've been figuring out how am I going to manage to get an entire gumbo done within the space of an hour and a half. And I realized, well, obviously, prepare as much as possible. And that includes cooking the chicken in advance so that that way, once the other ingredients are all cooked and thrown together, we will have a gumbo, and we should be able to reveal. Is this a yeah? We should be able to reveal the finished product in time to well, I guess be successful. Boy, this sure is easy to cook. I'm hoping at least once again, this is my second week of using this wireless mic. I've got the little green light on the microphone that says it's connected, so I can only hope that we are connected. May I ask for everybody's help here? Can you at least confirm, are you hearing this? Yes or no, please? Well, if you're not hearing it, obviously you won't say no, but if you are hearing this, just please say that you can hear it. That's all I would like to confirm because yeah, I'm still getting used to this wireless microphone here. Meanwhile, as you can see, shredding this chicken is no difficulty at all, and there's got to be plenty of it to use in the gumbo. I used chicken leg quarters here, largely because they were, as usual, the cheapest chicken parts available at the supermarket. I mean, that's no surprise. That's one reason why I love leg quarters. Another reason is I love dark meat, and it tastes great. So, like I said, this could actually be a dinner in itself. I mean, you could use this shredded chicken just about anything from a pot pie to simply scoop it into bowls, even. And I'll say again, all I did was simply coat this with, well, you could really use pretty much any rub you want. I used Old Bay seasoning because that's what I'll be using in the gumbo tonight. And then you just simply put it covered in the oven. Heat the oven to 250 degrees and let it sit for a few hours. And when it comes out, you have got some pull off the bone, slow cooked uh, chicken to shred. And having done that, that means everything else should be just about ready. Just got to pick out the rest of these little bones here. Let me check the comments and see, has anybody heard me saying that if they can hear me or not? Okay, I can hear you. Okay, good. Thank you very much, Handsome Stone. All right, that's good. That's one less thing to worry about. In which case, we are pretty much good to go here. Boy, that was easy. Got a whole bunch of chicken, and that's the first step. The next step is going to be fun because we have a couple of other preparatory steps in this gumbo here. One of them involves okra. And the fun part is, I have to confess, folks, this is going to be my first time cooking okra. Yeah, I haven't had the nerve to do it, so I figured I might as well give it a try tonight. That is going to be interesting. And are we at our time yet? Wait, we still have 3 minutes to go yet, so officially. So, boy, I'm glad it started this early, though, because that way we wouldn't be wasting time watching this during the regular live. I'm sure folks may find it interesting because, yeah, this looks like some pretty darn good chicken. In fact, I've got to try a piece myself. Mm-hmm. Mm. I love slow cooked chicken or pulled chicken. Oh yeah, I mean you can mix just about anything in this. You can mix Worcestershire sauce or barbecue sauce or whatever sauce you want, and you've got yourself really a pot full of goodness. Hi, Trouble. Well, I think he's learning to avoid the camera. Oh, let me try one more time. Nope, he is definitely learning to avoid the camera. Okay. Anyway, and here's another bone. That's about the only drawback, of course, to this. You have to pick out the bones. But fortunately, since this thing just pretty much it falls off the bone, it's really not that difficult. And at this point, I would have to say we are ready. So pull out a bowl here. And it's time to start scooping away. Yep. But yeah, okay. Well, in about a minute or so, we get to start the official live. Yeah, thanks a lot, Fork. Okay, these go in the sink now. Well, they did their duty. All right. And I do believe it's time. All right. So good enough because I've done what needed to be done. Hi there. Welcome, everybody, to Cast Iron Wednesday here on YouTube Live. Yes, for the past couple of years, I have been doing a weekly live YouTube live video here. As it's part of what a lot of cooking channels here, or at least the smaller cooking channels here on YouTube, have been doing every Wednesday, and we call it Cast Iron Wednesday. That is, we take just that. We do a, video about cast iron. Why? Because it's fun. I mean, I love cooking in cast iron, and really, that's the whole point. It's like cast iron is wonderful for cooking, but if it's not fun, why do it? And as I said, I've been doing this now for about 2 years. And as always, I can thank everybody so much for showing up for for these live videos each week. I can only hope that I'm entertaining you enough that well, you want to keep coming back. I started a little early tonight because the preparations have been pretty busy here. What we've got here is a nice big bowl full of pulled chicken, for instance, which I have cooked in this number 10 Griswold skillet, in fact. Oh, this is still a little hot, so let me move these things over. Get the, here we are. So that way you can at least see the handle here with the unmistakable block logo lettering of a Griswold. In fact, now that I'm doing this, I can actually mention, some folks, you may have seen, I posted a couple of short videos this week, including a silly little video, which included a clip from one of my favorite movies, The War of the Worlds. Yes, that was a video where I actually freeze framed the cast iron skillet they used in it, and I came to the conclusion that that was a number 10 Griswold being used in that video, because I would like to think that the shape of that pan is pretty much exactly what we see here, including, again, the block logo lettering or numbering or font seen of the number 10. And this number is why I came to the conclusion the pan in that movie was a Griswold. um, as I commented, that pan though actually had a silvery look to it, which meant that they probably took it right from the props department or bought it at a store and didn't even bother seasoning it. So that may be why the eggs in that video were so overcooked. But nonetheless, other than that, I mean, as I mentioned, did this in order to make a pot of chicken or bowl of chicken, which we are going to throw into a big pot of gumbo. Yes, as the title of the video noted tonight, I'm doing this especially so that because yeah, in order to play with another piece of cast iron tonight, and I think we should start moving over and getting ready for the next step here. So move over to the stove, and here we are. This is the one I'm going to be using actually for making the gumbo, and this is a huge, and I mean huge, number 12 size Birmingham stove and range Dutch oven. I don't think the video is actually giving a good example of the size of this, but I'll show you in a little bit. Right now, though, I'm actually just heating this thing up gently in the background so that it will be good and hot when we are ready to actually use it for making a roux. Before we do that, though, I've got one other pan that's heating up here, and we are going to be using this one, well, pretty much right now. What do I, yeah, because this is, I've got another first here in preparation for this. We're going to be cooking ourselves up some okra. Yeah, because as they say, you have to have okra to go into a gumbo. But to be honest, this is going to be my very first time making okra. And yes, I have to say I got the frozen stuff at the store. That's because when I went looking in the supermarket for okra this morning, the guy said, well, the only fresh okra we have is over in the organic section. To which point I quietly said to myself, screw that, and went and got some frozen okra. Largely because I'm not going to go into a sermon about that, I promise, but I have had an ongoing boycott of these so-called organic foods that they have here at the supermarket, because what they're essentially doing is charging twice the price just so that you can put a fancy label on it, and that's it. And that's all I'm going to say about organic. So, and meanwhile, we'll get down to the business at hand and start cooking ourselves up some okra. Whoops. Unfortunately, that was not the camera this time. And to do that, all right, okay, now, of course, I know the whole thing about okra is you don't want it to get slimy. And I can only hope that doing it in this manner should avoid that. Because what I'm doing is throwing a bunch of butter into the pan. And once that's done, oh yeah, this pan is good and hot. I got to be careful not to burn the butter, in fact. So, yeah, boy, that shows how well this gas stove works here on a good old cast iron skillet, especially a Birmingham stove and range skillet. This is my trusty Red Mountain #8, which I have used quite a few times in the past and intend to keep using as many times as possible on. Here we go. And I figured what they say the best thing you should do is just sear the okra up. So that's what we're going to do, or attempt to do. All right. That means I better get good and hot. And right now, I think I'm glad I have this microphone right here next to my next to myself, because that's making quite a bit of noise in the pan here. All I can say is if this thing turns, oh, gee, guess what? Oh boy, hold on. Let me turn on the vent fan, and let's open this up. Uh, See, that sure sounds familiar, doesn't it? Well, as a matter of fact, I think it's the first time it's happened in this apartment. So, oh, shut up. Hold on. Let me kind of. All right, get this, clear this out as best as I can. There we go. That helps. Oh, okay. Well, some things sure haven't changed, have they? As they say, if half of your recipes include blowing off the smoke detector, then you must have cast ironitis. All right. Well, I'm hoping that that I can see there's some stringy stuff, and I'm really hoping that's not the slime that you're supposed to get in this okra. Quite simply, if this doesn't work, I'm not going to use it because, well, I've made gumbo without okra before, and if that doesn't work, that means I will just have to practice cooking okra. Yeah, unfortunately, I can see, yeah, that there is regrettably some stringy bits to it. Nonetheless, the best I can do is keep on trying. Oops, I think one or two pieces have gotten away, in fact. Well, that's something I know the cats are not going to eat. All right, let me turn this over as best as I can. As I said, if it doesn't work, well, then it doesn't work. I do believe it is starting to shrink a little bit, though, nonetheless, which means I can spread it out and hopefully get some heat all across the rest of the stuff. Basically, what I want to try to do is get it not so much that it's dried out, but that it is, well, good and fried. So now that we have this all covered on this end, I think I'll hold up for a minute and just hold for a few seconds and say hello to a couple of people. Hello, Cynthia Wesley and Rick Stumbow and Val's Black Head Tools. The mic is muffled, you said. Oh, great. Okay, I'm guessing I'm going to have to try to adjust that. On the other hand, I've got a lot of noise going on right now. I've got the vent fan going over the stove, and of course, that sizzling pan made a lot. Mic is muffled. You're all saying that the mic is muffled. I'm very okay. I do apologize. I wonder if there's anything I can do to adjust that. I'm opening the sound settings in Windows right now. In fact, let me see. Input microphone. I can't turn off the microphone, unfortunately. I'm sorry to say. Let me see if there's anything here in this that I can adjust. Regrettably, it doesn't seem like it. Okay. On the other hand, Bets says sound is fine for me. Okay. Yeah, trouble probably went into hiding. You're probably right, in fact. As I said, it might be muffled just because of all the noise that occurred a few moments ago. All right, I'm trying to turn this over, and I think we are starting to get a little bit of color in this. So hopefully that means this is, there's another piece. That means this is working, I hope. I'm just worried, as I said, about the slimy part. So well, all I can do is just keep on trying. I'm not going to spend all night doing this nonetheless. I mean, if it doesn't work, well, again, then it doesn't work. This is my first time attempting to cook okra. So if it is not successful, that I will have to consider to be my own fault. Oh, damn it. Great. Piece just fell right under, and it probably isn't going to burn. Oh, well. That means we may see here more of the smoke detector again. Nonetheless, as I said, what I'm trying to do is crisp it up, and I can only hope that that's what happens. Okay, we're going to wait a couple more minutes because after this, we've got another long task to do. That one I feel is going to be a little bit more successful, and that is going to be building the roux for our gumbo here. So, as I mentioned, we've got it all here on this one side. I'll wait another few seconds or so. Okay, back to the comments nonetheless. Okay, I've seen 12 BSR Dutch oven, one of my prize possessions. Yeah, I don't blame you one bit, Huggy Bear. Yeah, I got put some flour on the okra, then fry it. I wish I had thought of that, unfortunately. As I'm really going into for based on a video that really did not use flour. This just simply tried frying it in this manner in a pan. So yeah, I can see that there are unfortunately some stringy bits in this, regrettably. I'm just going to give it maybe a few more minutes at most because, like I said, I'm not going to spend forever doing this. I have to say, the smell is, well, no, the smell really isn't bad. I'm not smelling anything gross, whatever that's worth. So I can only hope that this does turn out to be successful. I have to say, it still is a little soft, unfortunately. Let me see. Could always maybe throw a little, just a tiny bit more oil into this pan very quickly and see how well that might be able to fry it up. So, very quickly, getting some oil here. Not too much, I promise. Just enough. And see if that helps. I know it's hard to tell just based on sight, rather, because obviously you won't be here to taste test it. But frankly, folks, if you don't think this is successful, I will take your word for it. Because fortunately, we do have a lot of other ingredients here that will go into this gumbo. So I'm not too worried, quite frankly, if this stuff does not turn out to be successful. And for that matter, that's another good reason why I'm glad I did not buy that overpriced organic stuff. Because that makes it, I shouldn't call this disposable, but it means that, quite frankly, if it's not a success, well, it will not, I will not have wasted a large amount of money. All right, one more time, and then I guess we'll be at the point to decide whether or not it works good. Yeah. Let us take care of the gumbo. Yeah, yes, exactly. Bill L. I don't particularly care for okra, so all my gumbos are roux based, born and raised in Louisiana. Roux is Cajun style and okra more Creole style. Well, I don't blame you there. And I've made roux before, and that actually is going to be have any cornstarch, use a little bit of that. Well, we could certainly give that a try. Okay, which means I can dig that out very quickly. Let's see how successful this turns out to be. I know I've already promised that this is not going to take very long, and I still mean that. Let me just quickly. Oh, this is an unopened thing of cornstarch. Okay. Oh yeah, I've been again been replenishing all my stuff best as I could. So work this in. Let's see if that turns makes it any more successful. This is pretty much going to be the last attempt, one way or another. All right. I mean, the pan is certainly hot enough. I am definitely seeing some browning here on this. And again, I did start off by frying this in butter, so there should certainly be some taste to it. Regardless, I think at this point, all I can do is wait and see how it all turns out. Because rather than do that, I think I could turn off this vent fan now for the moment. There we go. So that way the sound won't be muffled. Besides, I still have the window partially open too. This stuff has shrunken a little bit, and there is a little bit of color. I'm what I would want to do at this point, I think, would be to just set it aside and see whether or not it looks okay when the time comes to actually use it in the gumbo. So that means I will just place this over here. There we go, where it can't hurt anyone. All right, meanwhile, the flame is still going, and that's good because now we can move on to the next step. Something that will hopefully be a little bit more fun. Oh, you see that little piece? Let me grab my tongs as quickly as I can. This is the piece that fell down inside. There we go. Okay. Now, on to the next step. How do you cook okra? Yeah, I think that's a question I'll have to ask because I'm not very sure that I was very successful. Nonetheless, now we go on to the next step. There we go. Gotta get this thing up decent and hot here. And it's a good thing I preheated this pan as well. Because, yeah, now we get to have another look here at the Birmingham Stove and Range number 12 size Dutch oven. This thing is okay. Here is my hand, and this thing here is like about 6 inches deep. I can't get it any more than that because yeah, it's already hot on the bottom here. But this thing is more than a foot across. I think it's like about 13 inches wide. So yeah, this thing is really when they talk about cast iron using terms like beast or monster or tank, this is really what they're talking about here. And having said that, I guess let's get down to having some fun because, as the where is it? Here it is. As the cooking Cajun says, first you got to make a roux. And so far, my roux seem to have been most successful when I have used lard. So that means that's what I have here, half a cup of lard. And the other thing I've done, and even though this is not exactly the traditional route, because I know what they say, it's like equal amounts of oil and flour. Yet, in this case, in particular, when making a roux, I found when using lard, I have actually had more success by using half a cup of lard and a full cup of flour. So start out with this. And now comes the fun part. This is the part where we just have to keep going and going and going and do not stop. So there's a good opportunity here to start doing this and talk a little bit about cast iron while our roux hopefully changes color. Okay, now here goes the rest of it. There we go. Because we're going right now, we have what they just call a white roux, which is your very basic and first step. What I've got to do is cook this roux so that it turns nice and dark and hopefully does not burn. And the only way to do that is to just keep going and going and going. Like they say, when you do this with a roux, you do not stop. I know as well there is a method that a lot of people like doing, and that is to simply bake their roux in the oven because, of course, they don't have to do all of this effort like I'm doing now. But this, of course, is the traditional way, and in some ways, it's probably even more fun. So I'm just giving it a shot, and I've been successful before, which is why I'm not too worried that it's not going to work, especially since this seems to have come together nicely. It's nice and solid at this point. So that means the roux should not come apart, not until the very end when it actually takes on its more chocolate consistency. But as I said before, this is a huge Birmingham Stove and Range number 12 size Dutch oven. This thing is definitely a real monster. I got this particular one when my BSR number 10 actually turned out to be too small. I know that sounds kind of heretical, but yeah, in the early days of my cast ironitis, my little cast iron fetish here, where I wanted everything and I wanted every piece of cast iron under the sun, I had the idea then of getting myself a nice big Dutch oven. And frankly, after I started using one, I did not regret it. My first big Dutch oven, in fact, was a number 9 Wagner Dutch oven that I managed to acquire at a flea market. That one actually worked very well for a couple of years when all of a sudden that particular Wagner just plain seemed to crack, and not just crack, but in a really, really big and unusual manner. In fact, if I remember right, I believe there's a possibility there may have been an accident involved when I was not home. Yeah, actually, the details of that story are coming back to me. In fact, that was as I said, that was a Wagner drip drop Dutch oven, and I did, and in a few of my earlier videos, you'll see it, like the video where I made Julia Child's Coco Vin, for instance, or as I was calling it then, Coco Vin. But yeah, then I went on, I believe it was on a road trip or on vacation, and at that time, the landlord of my apartment, boy, it always seems to be a landlord, doesn't it? Sent some guys in to redo the sprinkler system in my apartment. And not just my apartment, they were doing it in every single apartment in that apartment complex. A few days after that, after I came home and the sprinklers were there and there were some big ugly pipes on the ceiling, I took out the Wagner number 9 Dutch oven and I was boiling water on it on, I think it was a Saturday morning, when suddenly when suddenly there was water all over the stove. It seems that the Dutch oven had not only cracked, but in fact it had a huge V-shaped chip of it had come off. And that's why I was suspicious that maybe those workers might have actually broken it, may have dropped it and cracked it or broken it or worse, and they simply didn't tell me. Unfortunately, though, there was no way for me to prove it. But because of that, I had the urge then to get myself another Dutch oven. And it was then that I actually made a pretty good eBay score and managed for the first time. Oh, I'm starting to smell this now, so I think it's starting to work. I do believe as well, this is starting to become more of a blonde roux now rather than a white roux. So we are starting to make some progress here. Anyway, Where was I? Oh yeah, I made a good eBay score then, and actually managed to acquire a number 10 size BSR Dutch oven. And that was my first time having a big and heavy and durable pot like that. And yes, I was definitely in love because, oh yeah, this is already, you notice how this is getting more of a liquid consistency already. All I really have to do is keep doing this until it gets nice and dark. So this is actually going, well, don't want to brag, but this is actually going a little better than I had hoped. This is not taking as long as I thought. Just got to keep going. Cannot stop. I can stop talking, of course, if I want to. I just can't stop moving. But if I stop talking, I'm afraid of dead air. Where was I? Oh, yeah. I was using a BSR number 10. And yeah, I really, really enjoyed using that big pot. That was the pot where I made my Boston baked pork and beans video, the video that I am so proud of that if I wanted to call any of these videos my trademark, I'm hoping that might have been the one. And I'm proud as well that that particular video has gotten over 100,000 views on YouTube because I think it deserves it. Not for me, but because it is such a great video, great recipe. Let me say that. Anyway, it was yeah, that number 10 Dutch oven really served me well until another time when I was making Boston baked beans. I think it was for the Super Bowl, in fact, when I actually pot overflowed and I had just simply been too ambitious and I made too much for that number 10 size pot. And it was then that, well, cast ironitis struck again, and I started getting the urge to look for an even bigger sized cast iron pot. And it was back in those days too. Fortunately, when vendors had not immediately, no, had not reached the point where they will immediately recognize a BSR pan. For the longest time, BSR pans, of course, were unknown. But yeah, now of course, largely thanks, well, really thanks to the internet, thanks to us, quite frankly. um, yeah, they will recognize a BSR and of course give it a much higher price. But in that day, this was several years ago. I'm thinking maybe around 2016 or 2017. That was when I managed to acquire not one but two number size Dutch ovens for a fairly decent price. At least I thought so. Especially since there were two of them. They did not have lids, unfortunately. It turned out the one reason why I had gotten them for such a good price was I have long since been convinced that they were actually in a house fire. Both of these Dutch ovens showed the signs of fire damage. The other one, in fact, not only spun like a top, but in fact, the seasoning did not hold. I've made several attempts to try to properly season that number 12 Dutch oven. Seasoning just kept coming off. It simply would not work. And that is really probably the biggest problem with one of the biggest problems with fire damage in a cast iron pan. So, let me see. Hoping, I don't know if I should bother turning up the heat or not. I mean, things are doing pretty good right now. I just have to keep being patient, and I shouldn't stop. But yeah, that was when, if you look at that video, I made a video about that as well several years ago. That was the one where I did that clickbait title, which said, "Don't throw your cast iron into a fire." And that is still a mantra that I still promote today because I have seen fire damaged cast irons. And I know I've seen quite a few pans, in fact, that are in various stages of fire damage. This very pot right here, in fact, is fire damaged. It is still a spinner, but it is. I was able to successfully season it, and because of that, I'm continuing to use it at least until the day when I can find a better Red Mountain series number 12 Dutch oven. who knows if or when that will ever happen. Because this is, in fact, an early century Dutch oven. It does have the large number 12 that you do see on the Red Mountain series, but the font of the number 12 on the bottom of this matches the Century Series pans. And so that's why I know this is actually a Century Dutch oven. And one of these days, I hope to be able to find as I said, a number 12 size Red Mountain Dutch oven. Hopefully, one that might match my Red Mountain lid. Now, as I mentioned, these two Dutch ovens. Oh, this thing is definitely starting to smoke now. I hope that smoke detector doesn't go off again. What was I saying? Oh yeah, no lid. That's right. Those two Dutch ovens. The other one I had to unfortunately get rid of simply because I didn't have any use for it. I mean, since it would not season, I could not really find any use for it. This is definitely starting to become a darker Roux. It's still in the blonde stage, though. I am not in the brown stage yet, unfortunately. But yeah, so I ended up getting rid of that one number 12, and so now I have a number 12. The lid, on the other hand, I acquired separately as a something of a trade, and it was a trade that I certainly have not regretted. If I remember right, several years ago at another flea market, I made, well, a really good score in that for only a few bucks, I managed to acquire a number 12 size Wappic skillet. And I ended up trading that one away. I think I traded away for a BSR number 12 skillet, in fact. But anyway, because of that, I ended up uh, taking the time of finding a number 12 size BSR lid. And I'm very happy about that. The lid, in fact, I'll get to show that to you in a few minutes or so when I'm done with this stage here. But that lid is very thick, very heavy. It has very large uh, dimples, those basting dimples that BSR lids have, and that's why I think it's actually earlier Red Mountain series. And in fact, I think it's even a handwritten Dutch oven lid. So it would be really nice if one of these days I could acquire a BSR Red Mountain Dutch oven number 12 size to go with that lid. It can still happen. You never know. I mean, I have the rest of my life to find one. So that's why I'm doing my best to simply be patient, especially since, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, BSR on eBay now is no longer unknown. And it is much, much harder to find a good score in an unmarked cast iron pan on eBay these days, when quite a few of the unmarked pans are now recognizable. And again, we ourselves, the ones who have been in this hobby of identifying cast iron, probably could take a fair amount of the blame of it. Oh well, that's just how it goes. I remember receiving a nasty email several years ago from a person who I shall not name, who is part of the cast iron community on Facebook, saying that by putting out my videos and my website on identifying cast iron, I am pretty much making this information available to scam artists and the ones who really try to sell cast iron at ridiculous prices on eBay. And my reply to that was, it's going to happen sooner or later. So no, quite frankly, I did not, and do not feel guilty about making that information available. Oh, a little bit of flour still. Making that information available for free to everyone. Because yes, it is true that, and now I am not taking credit for driving up the price of cast iron on eBay. I'm saying, on the other hand, though, that our community in general probably bears not necessarily responsibility, but can be, well, as I said, credited with providing the information that these speculators, these Western speculators, use. There's a good side and a bad side to this hobby. But on the other hand, again, we are hardly the only ones, or the only hobby where this has happened. So, I mean, comic book speculators, for instance, that's a pretty famous story in itself. But you can say that really about any hobby that has a lot of collecting involved. Coin collecting, numismatists, stamp collecting, um, art collecting, and any other kind of antique collecting. You can be sure it's all in the same boat. Namely, that when the information becomes widely available, there's an advantage and a disadvantage to that because there will be folks who will take advantage of it. This has definitely become more of a brown roux at this point. If later, when this video is over, if anybody wants to actually, look at the beginning of this and compare it to now, you can see this has really become more of a brown roux. And if I wanted to, and I think I might want to, I may not stop yet. I can keep on going until it becomes more like the consistency of chocolate. And yes, I intentionally am saying chocolate and not something else that looks like this because I know. I've had my share of poop jokes and I really don't feel like that. Suffice to say, as I said, I'm going to call it a chocolate roux when it reaches that point. And from the looks of it, and from my hope is, it's only going to be another few minutes. This roux actually, as I said, has been pretty easy to make. I will repeat, I did not use 1-to-1. I did not use equal amounts of lard and flour here. I used half a cup of lard and 1 cup of flour because, as I found before, that seems to give this pretty good consistency. I just realized a number of my ingredients are still in the refrigerator, unfortunately. I forgot to take them out. I did prepare them at least, but they are still in the fridge, regrettably. I hope that doesn't cause problems. Among other things, that would be the Trinity, which is what I'm going to be mixing into this roux once we are ready. Yes, the Holy Trinity. That is, of course, your onions, your bell peppers, and celery. Because if you don't have a roux, it's not gumbo, and if you don't have the Trinity, it's not gumbo. I suppose really pretty much just about any major ingredient. If you don't have it, it's not gumbo. That's why there is going to be andouille sausage too with this. Promise. Anyway, this thing is really definitely smoking up, which is inevitable. And thank goodness I have not heard the smoke alarm go off yet. No, it did not happen now because, yeah, I know. I was expecting it too. Now that I mention it, of course, it goes off. But no, things are going good. I think probably having the window open certainly helps. But yeah, oh, ow, damn, just splashed a tiny bit of it on myself. Ouch. Oh, so it goes. Okay. All right. What else can I say about the roux? Well, just that. Yeah. Again, we're getting into a good consistency here. And like I said before, it's nice and smoky. Oh yeah, I remember now. When last time I made a roux like this, I was thinking, there are some things you probably consider try using a roux for that I really haven't done that before. You can get a nice smoky flavor this way, so that it would be kind of like a substitute for just that, for using a smoker. There we go. Like say, imagine using a roux, for instance, to mix in, say, the chicken, that I made, for instance, and then just using that in a pot pie, just as an example. But I mean, if you really, it's like this is even better than liquid smoke as far as giving a nice smoky flavor to it. All right, just gotta keep going here. Yeah, I know. Isn't this exciting? Well, that's how it goes. I mean, the end result has turned out pretty darn good, though. I think we're getting close to our point here. A little loose, a tablespoon of flour in there, unless you like loose. Yeah, I do actually like loose, actually. I'm thinking this is a pretty good consistency here. I'm not a fan, or rather, I should say, when I've made roux, they've usually turned out with this consistency here. And I think they have turned out, I think the end result has been, well, at least in my end, pretty successful. So I myself am not complaining about the consistency here. I just have to keep an eye on it, as I said, so that it doesn't burn. And Papa Dan, you still have a Red Mountain number 12 Dutch oven? Well, if you do, congratulations, and please be sure to get some use out of it. So, it's been gone since 2017, he says. Oh well. Well, that's the way the Wookiee grumbles. Anyway, appreciate you folks listening to my story of the number 12 BSR Dutch oven, which is not over yet. I mean, again, there's always, I'm all hoping for the day when I find a number 12 size Dutch oven of the Red Mountain series. But I do believe we are probably at the point where I could use this, because this definitely is what I would call a chocolate roux. I will repeat, no, I'm not interested in poop jokes tonight. There's a time and a place for them, and I'm not interested. I don't feel it's the time right now. That's why I'm calling this a chocolate roux. So, having said that, well, let me as well give some thanks to the spirit of Justin. Oh my God, I can't believe I've forgotten his last name. The Cooking Cajun. Justin Howard? My God, I swear, I hope I'm not going senile. Anyway, Cooking Cajun, who, as you know, his words were, first, you gotta make a roux. So, having done that, let me actually, where's my phone? And yeah, I know I have to keep stirring this thing. I do not want it to burn. Because I don't have my gumbo recipe memorized. All right, where are we here now? Damn it, come on. Okay, all right, cook slowly. Okay. At the beginning, dry and back. Okay, good. All right, now that we're ready here, now comes the fun part, because now we get to actually start adding other ingredients into this at last. So let me go very quickly so that this doesn't burn. And pull out a bowl from the fridge, where we get another ingredient that you absolutely have to have in gumbo, and that, of course, is the Trinity: the onion, the celery, and the pepper. Flop. There we go. Come on. Or as I like to say, onions. And yeah, here's why I like it having a loose consistency, because it becomes, it mixes in very nicely with the Trinity here. Where's my, here it is, my pot holder. This will do. Have to be careful here. And let's make sure to get all around the edges so that none of it, again, sticks and burns. And then I just realized, boy, actually, we are probably more than halfway done with this thing. The longest period of time in this probably is preparing the roux. And yeah, it's already giving a nice smoky flavor here. And I think I successfully avoided burning it because I'm not smelling. Oh no, 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 no. It is mixing nicely, in fact, with those veggies. There we go. And having done that, stir until the onions have caramelized about 4 to 5 minutes. Okay. At which point then we got to start throwing in some seasonings. So that would mean, oh, okay, yeah. Once these things have successfully caramelized, then we will be adding in our seasonings. So after that, okay, good. And then after that will come the chicken, and then some chicken broth. Boy, this is not taking as long as I'd feared. Preparing all that in advance certainly helped, thank goodness. Yeah, because I was really worried. How was I going to do a full-blown gumbo within the space of this YouTube live? But now at this point, as I said, we are already past the worst of it. So the rest is going to be just pretty easy here. So thank you again for your patience, everybody. Where's the liquid? The liquid will be coming in a few minutes, I promise. Right now, though, first we will be getting our seasoning in there. And yeah, that hot roux is probably certainly cooking these veggies as well. And by the way, look at all the smoke too. Well, it's not a thick smoke. I mean, it's kind of like a steam too, in that it's smoke is dissipating very quickly. So I like that. But now we get to have some fun. And that's where we start throwing things in, like some kosher salt. A few bay leaves. Not too many, because we've got to try getting those things out afterwards. A little bit of cayenne. I'm not a heavy fan of cayenne myself. I was actually thinking maybe of just throwing some sriracha into this. And of course, nonetheless, probably the most important seasoning. Here's the part where the Cajuns, I think, will scream because I'm using Old Bay. At which point they're saying, no. Oh, boy, that smoke. You've got to use Zatarans. Well, I happen to have Old Bay, which I intend to use. So, I'm getting all that in. There we go. And yes, I know it's nice and thick right now. And like you said, it needs liquid. Don't worry, the liquid will be coming. I promise. All right, just mix everything in. Definitely giving it an interesting flavor, I will say that. Okay, making sure I haven't missed anything here, checking my recipe nonetheless. Any other spices you desire, such as hot sauce, additional Cajun seasoning, Worcestershire sauce, and so on. Okay, add salt, stir and cook. And there's this. Where am I missing something? Add salt, cayenne pepper, bay leaves. Stir and cook for a few minutes. Add the chicken broth. Where am I seeing the chicken? Oh, okay, that's the part. Got it. Well, yeah, that's because they're supposed to cook the chicken. That's why. But yes. Okay, now is the part where we start adding the liquid. And that means, just do this quickly. Here's one. And at this point, I am once again glad I've got this gas stove here because I'm going to be simmering this over a gas flame. Unlike the electric stove, I have little doubt that this thing will stay nice and hot and bubbling. There we go. So now we get to dilute the roux and the seasonings and the Trinity. And give this more of the consistency that you would expect from gumbo. Because there we go. Now it's starting to look more like a soup. Okay, I think I probably skimmed a little bit on the Old Bay. Let's throw in a little bit more of this stuff. There we go. Folks up in I'm sure folks in Maryland and Baltimore will probably gladly use Old Bay in their own gumbo because of course that's just what it is. It's a seafood spice. I like it myself. That's why I tend to use it in dishes like this. I've used it in jambalaya. I'm using it here in gumbo, and I myself do not have a problem with it, and neither do the folks I have served this to. I don't think anybody has said, "Oh, this isn't Zatarain's." Now, of course, those of you who love Zatarain's, feel free to use it. I'm more of a wimp when it comes to these kind of battles over the brands. Boy, look at this on the fork here. I'd better see if I can scrape some of this stuff off, if that's at all possible. Because I know what they say, that's flavor. Now we're starting to get somewhere. Now that we've done this, here comes the next thing we add. Do we or do we not add this okra? Let me see here. I mean, it's still got something of a soft consistency to it. If I'm gonna eat it, I suppose I might as well bite the bullet and try a piece. I don't think this is that bad. I'm gonna add it. So I am not tasting any kind of a slimy taste thing in that piece that I just ate. So there we go. We've got our okra in there. And now that we've done that, we've got, unfortunately, I forgot to get this one out of the fridge as well. So hoping that this doesn't cool it too much. Just center this more over the flame. There we go. And this is our other, shut up. This is our other important part, the sausage, including the andouille. Yeah, I'm exaggerating that pronunciation, I admit it. But I have poorly pronounced many foods over the course of my life, and I have been thoroughly chastised for it. I think I initially pronounced it as andouille or something like that instead of andouille. And from here, all we really need to do, and let me double check this recipe. Let me see, add the reserved sausage, reduce, bring the mixture to a boil, and reduce. Okay. And here's the part. Yeah, actually, we've got to bring it to a boil and then reduce it so that it becomes nice and thick. So before we do so, though, I've got one more ingredient. And that is what we saw at the beginning of this video, our cooked chicken. This will certainly help to thicken it up as well. Plop. Boy, doesn't that look nice. Oh, yeah. Actually, this is definitely helping. There we go. Now I think we're getting more of a stew type consistency already. So this is actually, hey, I'm liking this now. It's becoming a lot less of a soup and more of a thick stew. So I am, as I said, I think that has greatly improved it. Now, really, I think what we have to do more than anything else is get this good and hot again. I mean, yeah, we're still getting steam from it, but I did add the cold sausage, unfortunately. The okra was warm, the chicken was warm, the Trinity was cold, but I added it to the hot roux, and I think that certainly helped to heat it up. So this is probably fairly warm right now. I think what we have to do more than anything else, though, is warm this up. This is thick enough. I think, in fact, we can cover it. I don't think I need to reduce this. I think the chicken really helped. So that means I get to show everybody the lid that I was talking about, which I put over here for convenience. Because, yeah, I mentioned how big this number 12 size Dutch oven is. Well, yeah, you can only say that as well about the lid. This thing here, again, is more than a foot across. This is a number 12, and I do believe this would be considered a handwritten number 12 here, if you can see it uh, under the, here it is, under the handle here. There we go. You see, especially the shape of the number two. I think it's backwards, in fact. But nonetheless, also the other thing is it has large dimples on the bottom. They are not small. They are in the random pattern that you see in Red Mountain, but they have large dimples on the bottom, rather. And that's why I think this is, in fact, an older piece. But yeah, this is a nice big pot. And lo and behold, looks like all we have to do now is let this thing heat up. So far, so good. And that means now that we've done that, I haven't even, the okra slime factor is viscosity that makes gumbo so great. Also makes sauteed okra not so great. I think I will agree with you on that. Yeah, because, yeah, that did not look very appetizing when I was sauteing it in the pan. On the other hand, I think it was good enough to mix into here, and this is certainly helping. However, now that we've done that, we've got one last thing to do. Let me move the over a little bit so that you can still see. There we are. Because, raise this a little bit. There we go. Thank you for your patience, everybody. Add rice or make separately and pour over when done. That's exactly what's coming up now. That means I don't know if this pot has shown up now in more live videos than any other, especially since it's not cast iron. But here we are again with the aluminum Magnolite Dutch oven. Yes, indeed. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, that's okay. All right. All right. Now we've got the Magnolite Dutch oven, which means now. No, hold on. Something is. I think I better wash this. I thought I had thoroughly washed it before, but looks like maybe there might be a little bit of residue from my last bit of cooking on there. So I do not want to take any chances. Okay. There we go. Now that we've done that, that means next step is going to come will be our rice. Here we are. That would be, oh, nuts. I forgot one. Nah, I think I'll just do it. All right, let's get our rice in the pot. And here I'm going to anger some people because it's not in a rush, but I am going to do this without washing the rice. Once in a while, I don't think there's a problem. So let's get that in there quickly. And especially because I am not washing the rice, I'm going to use a little bit more um, water because I found a good rule was 3 cups of water for 2 cups of rice. Well, here I'm going to use 3.5 cups of water to get this going. Two, 3, and finally, just a wee bit more. There we go. Put that in. And we will stir this quickly and start cooking our rice. Now, again, the other thing, and this is a lesson I learned only recently as well, is that we bring this to a boil uncovered before we actually cover it and start simmering it. Because I like the consistency of the rice after that. Okay. Whew. Well, that was fun. And at least it's certainly got us some time in here. Let me try. Yeah, let's do a nice view of the BSR here while we're doing this. And now, finally, I have time to look at some comments here. I've been rambling on and on and on, and I haven't been able to see your comments very much because I've been so busy concentrating on that roux, which I think actually turned out pretty good. I'm hearing. Oh yeah, that's right. I better turn this down a little bit here over on the Dutch oven here. I don't want to actually burn that. So besides, it's hot enough that it just putting it on a medium heat, perhaps, or less than medium, should be all I need. So, finally, thank you again for your patience while I've been doing this all evening here, folks. Looking a little further up through the comments, and thank you everybody for your comments, by the way. The liquid comes a little bit later, says Joseph Ortiz. Yes, exactly. That's when we were doing the roux, and I think I can even close that window. In fact, it looks like it's actually blowing onto the gas flame. Well, I don't think that smoke alarm is going to go off again. Yes, thank you, folks, for being there for the first time the smoke alarm went off in my new kitchen. Hopefully, I won't be hearing that too much. Cynthia Wesley, not in the South, I'm learning. Pardon me. Much more peaceful, says Jeffrey Neely. I've got an idea of what you mean by that, and that as I said, I'm not going to get into that. No offense, Debbie. My aunt, she was a cook. She used to make gumbo. I've only had it a few times. I might have made it, and I didn't know. Well, let's be optimistic and say yes, you have. So yeah. Oh, those are tiny leaves. Yeah, I know. I've got to refresh my bay leaves, unfortunately. Have you ever heard of or seen a hot dog pan? Says Pigtooth. I think I know what you're talking about. Those cast iron pans with the long, elongated spaces that I believe they actually use them for making bread sticks. Except that most people call them hot dog pans because most people like to cook hot dogs in them. My answer to that, of course, is that if you cook hot dogs in it, then it's a hot dog pan. There's no reason not to. So yes, I have seen those. I have not acquired one of those myself, and I don't know if I've had the urge to because the same excuse I've used so many times before. I've got too many cast iron pans already. I can't have every one ever made. Pardon me. You won't need toothpicks. I've been using blackened seasoning lately, says Joseph Ortiz. I kept the number 9, 1895. Oh, that sounds like a nice pot you've got there too. But yeah, the reason my whole point for doing this gumbo tonight, again, as folks, was because as I said, I wanted to bring out a Dutch oven and use it on this gas stove because, well, as I said in this video here, it's like I'm going through my collection bit by bit, and I could say, hey, this is the first time I've used this pot. Excuse me, boy, I think that's from the smoke from the roof. This is the first time I've used this pot on my gas stove, and yeah, I can definitely scratch off a Dutch oven from that list. Last week it was a cast iron cake pan, and I've already used skillets. And in that video, as you can see, I used the Lodge cornbread, the skull pan as well for making cornbread. So little by little, I got many pans to go through. And frankly, yeah, if I were to use a different pan every week, well, there we go. That will easily cover every live video for the next year or so. That's a possibility. Although there are some pans that I use more than others. I mean, like the like again, my good old BSR number 8, which has the still has the slimy residue from the from the okra on it. Actually, there's some butter on there too. But yeah, let me show you the bottom again, which I'm sure some folks have seen many times. This is a BSR number 8, and I'm convinced this is a later Red Mountain. It's like from the 1940s to the 1960s because it has a professional looking 8 and C, professional looking lettering on it. It does not have the handwritten look of the earlier Red Mountain series. So that's why I think that's probably like maybe 1940s to 1960s. Not that I have any complaints. I've gotten a lot of great use out of this pan. So I'm quite happy with it. It is definitely one of my favorite kitchen users. Hmm. Never heard of a hot dog pan? Might maybe put them in a cornstick pan. You can do hot dogs in a cornstick pan. Why not? Once I actually tried frying corn cobs in a cornstick pan. It didn't work because the cobs were too big or the pan was too small. So you could call it either way. Val, you've got an eye of a good cook. Wagner is much lighter than BSR, says Pawpaw. Damn, there is that, yes. And if you have problems with the weight, then that is certainly something you need to consider as well. Be careful. Mine was too, and then he got diabetes and had to have insulin shots. So yes, so do be careful. Hey, I think we're already at the point where this rice is boiling here. Boy, that sure didn't take long, did it? So that means now I get to cover the pan, turn down the heat to simmer, and let this go for 12 minutes. It is 9:07 right now, so that means at 9:19 the simmering part will be done. Then I will take it off the heat and leave it covered for another 10 minutes so that at just 9:29 or 9:30 the rice will be done. And the probably this gumbo should be done by then as well, since I mean after all it's been simmering in this really hot pan for a good it will be at least 20 minutes to almost half an hour then. So yeah, I do believe we will have a gumbo at just about 9:30. So this has actually turned out better than I'd hoped. Like I said, I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get all this done tonight, but for once it seems to have, well, I shouldn't say that too much. There's still time for something to happen. But yeah, I'm very much happy. I'm very happy so far with using a Dutch oven on this gas stove, and you better believe I'm going to be using it on the gas stove many times in the future, near future, and hopefully the far future as well. Not just this BSL number 12, but all of the other Dutch ovens I have in my collection here. The Lodge Dutch oven, the Griswold Dutch oven, the Stove enamel Dutch oven, the Lodge enamel Dutch oven, the Poiki, the South African cast iron Poiki. Boy, I'm definitely kind of embarrassed to say how many different pieces of cast iron I have in my collection, but well, that's what I ended up with. So, okay, let me flavor my. Okay, Christine Borgatti. I just tried some red okra, and boy, was that slimy. I will keep it to the green okra from now on. Well, thank you for the tip, and I will make a point of avoiding red okra in the future. Hey, Papa Dan, Shadow Walker. Sorry for not saying hi. Not to worry. Nice to see you here again, Shadow Walker XM. Debbie, mine was only 25 and over, and then shots. Ouch. Well, you definitely have to be careful with what you're eating. I would have sizzled that sausage off first. Oh, yeah, there is that. Well, partly I wanted to get this into the pot as quickly as possible because we do only have so much time here, unfortunately. I've got a video where I did make gumbo. And in that one, I did indeed sear the sausage first because, yeah, you get a lot of great flavor by doing that. No question about it. But as I said, unfortunately, here on this live video, I only had so much time. So that's why I wanted to get all this going. Is this going on rice? Yes, indeed. As I mentioned already, the rice is now simmering here in the Magnolite Dutch oven. So the okra slime factor is viscosity. Oh yeah, that's what we said. That's what we said earlier. And thank you for that tip, Clico. I do believe this is just when I was putting the okra in the pot, and yeah, actually, as I said, it didn't taste bad at all. So I was a little concerned about that, but no, I'm not going to have any complaints with the flavor of this. I have no doubt at all about that. Oh yeah, one last thing that I will be adding in the very end as well. I have not forgotten the filet powder. Promise, I have not forgotten it. Hmm. Can you put seafood in gumbo? Definitely. In fact, I believe there are some folks who would only consider seafood gumbo to be gumbo. Unfortunately, well, number one, I have never been a heavy seafood person myself. That's just me, unfortunately. And number two, seafood can spoil pretty quickly, so much more so than chicken. And that's something you have to consider, unfortunately, when you're making large amounts of food like I'm doing here tonight, using this huge Dutch oven. In fact, I'm gonna have so much gumbo. Who knows how long it's gonna take to get through this? I'm definitely gonna have to introduce myself to the neighbors. Hi, I'm your neighbor. Here, have some gumbo. So Hmm. Shrimp sounds good. Yes, indeed. Now, like it says, wouldn't have it no other way. Crab and shrimp, cornbread for the win. I would make Yankee sweet cornbread to go with the gumbo. Yeah, actually, I'm sorry. I am still a fan of sweet Yankee cornbread. They took out two-thirds of the pancreas. That was 14 years ago. Further down south, I had potato salad on the side. Hmm. And I think we are getting just about here. There we go. How did you cook your chicken? That was very easy, thank goodness. I slow cooked it. At about 2:30 this afternoon, I just simply took some chicken quarters that I had bought at the store, took them out of the package, put them in the excuse me, put them in that Griswold skillet. In fact, let me bring that out again for those who did not have a chance to see that. You will when this video is over because you can see at the beginning. But yes, here is a number 10 and still dirty Griswold skillet. And here is the Griswold logo, in fact, that goes with it. But anyway, I took out some leg quarters. I simply put them in this pot, in this skillet here, coated them with Old Bay seasoning, did not use any extra liquid or anything, covered it, put it in the oven, and just heated the oven to 250 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's slow cooking. And I just left it, set it and forget it until about, what time was it? At about 10 minutes of 8 tonight. So we're talking like more than 5 hours. And the result was what we saw there. That chicken was just falling right off the bone. It was so easy to pull apart and take bones out of it. And yeah, I mean, that is so easy to do that there is really absolutely no reason for you to spend money at the supermarket to get things like pulled chicken when you can just when it's so easy to do it yourself. I mean, as I said, you just literally put it in the oven, set it and forget it, and you can go and do your other things. So I hope I didn't sound too harsh by saying that, but I mean, I'm all just really offering that as a little advice because we're all on a budget, folks. We all want to save money. And I'm considering as well. I went shopping this morning for the ingredients for this gumbo here. Getting stuff like the sausage. and the chicken and that okra and the vegetables too for the Trinity. And I think it cost me maybe about $25, in fact, to get all of that sausage and everything else. However, I'm getting a giant pot of not okra, a giant pot of gumbo from that. I mean, we're talking big enough here that shoosh, I could feed an entire gathering with this for $25. These days, especially, you can only imagine how much a serving of gumbo with the sausage and the chicken would cost at any restaurant. And now I don't have many bad things to say about local mom and pop restaurants. Do support them, but the cost would be enormous. I mean, I would easily think that for a pot of gumbo this size, you'd probably have to pay $100, and I'm not exaggerating, not at today's prices. So making it yourself, you save an enormous amount of money. Oh yeah, I posted a picture, was it a week ago, I think, on my Facebook. And in fact, I think this was what inspired me to make this gumbo tonight. I saw Campbell's soup, Campbell's gumbo in a can at the supermarket. And I took a picture of that and posted it on my Facebook. Anybody who's seen that on my Facebook would know it. And I commented, "Boy, I'm sure folks down south are enjoying this." I forget the cost of what of what it was, but I'm betting that so-called gumbo from Campbell's must have been what would you say? $2 a can, perhaps? How many cans of that Campbell's gumbo would it take to fit this huge number 12 Dutch oven? 1 second, have to sneeze. Oh, maybe not. Anyway, one other thing about this BSR number 12. This is just a coincidence. I did some math a few years ago and estimated the volume of this Dutch oven. And it turned out to be, why is something getting blurry here for some reason? Is there a problem with the internet connection? Okay, it seems to have cleared up. But anyway, I did some math a few years ago and figured out that this BSR number 12 Dutch oven just happens to be about 12 quarts in volume. And that, quite frankly, is a coincidence because the number 12 on it is not a designation of volume. A number 8 Dutch oven does not have 8 quarts of capacity, unfortunately. It usually has 4 to 5 quarts. But in this case, this thing is just so huge that, yeah, this is a 12-quart Dutch oven, which means it's a 3-gallon Dutch oven, which means I'm making almost 3 gallons of gumbo here. So, yeah, I'm going to be sharing gumbo with my neighbors. I have little doubt from that. Campbell's chicken gumbo from Amazon is $3.60 a can. Oh, imagine how many cans it would take to fill up this big pot. Yeah. So I spent $25 on the ingredients. Quite frankly, I'm considering that a good investment just from the enjoyment I'm getting out of making this and hopefully for the entertainment I'm giving you folks as well. It is 9:19. Time to turn off the let's move over here. Time to turn off the oven. Get the there it is, pot holder, and move this off the heat. And now we just let it sit for another 10 minutes. And that's when everything will probably be ready. The rice and the gumbo. But yeah, here I am with my New England accent doing a fake Southern accent every time I say the word gumbo. I think actually I've got an old YouTube friend who I've mentioned before. I call it, he calls himself the Deep Fried King. He was one of the first YouTube channels I followed in regards to cooking in cast iron, and he loves his gumbo. He is a proud Southern Texas redneck and is not ashamed to say so. And he loves his gumbo. And he does a pretty good job making gumbo too. And he does it the way I did it tonight. He's got himself a big gumbo pot. He's got a big cast iron pail that he uses especially for making the roux for gumbo. He does the old fashioned way, or as some folks might say, the right way. So it's not even fake because it's not even close. Oh yeah, hurricane comfort cooking. Yes, I do hope everybody does okay in the hurricane there. Oh yeah, yeah. This I've mentioned this as well before about the rice cooker, about this aluminum pot. This is definitely the best water boiler I've ever owned and used. It is so convenient for boiling water, which means doing things like making rice or pasta. And yes, cast iron does a great job at boiling water. I just have to be honest and say I think the aluminum Dutch oven specifically boils water better. I mean, cast iron is not the greatest in the world at everything. Like it or not, we have to admit that. It's great at a lot of things. You want to sear a steak, you do it in cast iron. You want cornbread, you make it in cast iron. You want gumbo, make it in cast iron. If you want to boil water for rice, you can do it in cast iron, and I did for several years. But I think this aluminum pot does a better job at making rice. And that's just, well, that's just how it goes. Okay, that gumbo would last if I got caught in a storm. Yeah, with any luck, no doubt. Hey, hello, Captain Kirk. How do you find the seasoning deals with simmering and boiling? Um, Actually, depending on what you're making, there's really not much of a problem with that. I mean, there's so much grease and oil and residue in this gumbo, for instance, that it's going to be real. It's going to be really easy to wash out the pot and then just heat it up in the oven, not in the oven, on top of the stove, and then just give it another quick grease, and it will be done. So, besides, this particular gumbo has no tomatoes in it. That's where we get into the big argument they have down south over things like jambalaya, for instance. Do you use tomatoes in jambalaya or not? Fortunately, there are definitely no tomatoes in this gumbo. I love tomatoes, by the way. I love tomato sauce, love pizza sauce, love pasta sauce, but yeah, I'm still glad that this does not have gumbo. I'm sorry, that does not have tomatoes. And Betts is posting the ingredients in Campbell's chicken gumbo. Chicken broth, diced tomatoes. Well, there we go. Tomato juice. Okra. Rice, seasoned chicken, celery, salt, modified cornstarch, tomato paste, chicken fat, sugar, yeast extract, spice extracts, onion powder, caramel flavor. Caramel and flavor contains garlic. So yeah, Campbell's gumbo has tomatoes in it. They actually do have okra in it, at least. Do you have to season more cooking liquids? I'm not sure. Oh, I see what you mean. You're talking about, do liquids ruin the season in your cast iron? They can. Boiling water in cast iron will affect the seasoning eventually. Not as fast as if you regularly made tomatoes in cast iron, but it will do it. Water is an excellent solvent. I mean, that's why, but that's been known as well. And so, yeah, if you do a lot of water boiling in cast iron, it can indeed affect the seasoning. And I found that out too when I was regularly using a cast iron saucepan for making rice. I think that's another reason why I'm glad to be using this aluminum pot as a rice cooker, because again, it boils water great, and no, it does not need to be seasoned. So I would prefer boiling water in my aluminum pot just for that reason. No tomatoes in my gumbo or jambalaya. I'm from Nebraska. I'm corn raised. Yeah. Oh yeah. Good luck as well, everybody, for everybody in Florida. Well, we've been through hurricanes before. They are always dangerous. Someone always seems to be hurt. And yes, we can only hope that nobody we know or anybody close to us is hurt in this hurricane. or the next one whenever that happens. So we're in hurricane season, and that's just how it is. Um, but yeah, good luck as well to everybody who is wading through the storm. Once it makes landfall, it will turn, of course, into a thunderstorm and then work its way up the East Coast. So that here in here in New York, oh yeah, I was going to say here in New England, but not anymore. Oh yeah, in fact, one other thing. Monday, 2 days ago, I officially got my New York driver's license in the mail. So yes, there's no way around it. I am no longer a New Englander. I am now an official citizen and resident of the state of New York. Oh well. But anyway, yeah, like I said, the remains of that hurricane will make its way up here. Probably by early next week, I would guess, when we will have some winds and some rain. Okay, it is. Hey, 9:26. We're talking like about 3 or 4 minutes to go, and then I think everything's going to be ready. Thank you, everybody, for sticking around. Yeah, my mom's place is in the path. Fortunately, she's in New York City. However, the puppies are in the kennel. Well, good luck to your mom, Joseph Ortiz, as well. So, oh, another peek at that gumbo, please. Yeah, I don't see why not. It's not. I mean, it's not like it's going to spoil it or anything. Let me get my thing and. Oh yeah, there we go. All right. Oh, no question about it that this thing is simmering. Oh boy, can I smell this too? Oh, oh yeah. Oh yeah. I should definitely leave this thing uncovered now because like it or not, now I think it does have to reduce a little bit. But yeah, there we go. This is definitely gumbo. We've got sausage, we've got the Trinity, we have okra, and we have a lot of pulled chicken in it too. So, well, this is what we have when we have a former New Englander, but definitely a Yankee making gumbo. All right, I hold on. I'm holding this hot lid in my hands. I have to put it somewhere. I will put it over here for the time being. There we go. Out of the camera's way, I admit, but there we go. Oh yeah. So, anybody remember that Disney gumbo from a few years ago? Or good grief, was it that long ago? That's because one of those Disney movies that seems to have been largely forgotten, and I forget the name of it now. The Princess and the Frog. That's it. Which was set in Cajun country, in fact, with a young girl who made gumbo. She was a cook, and she was really proud of making gumbo. And to help promote that movie, Disney released a so called viral YouTube video done in the style of those viral foodie videos where everything was quick and you mix the ingredients, snap, 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 just like that. And they made this gumbo or so called gumbo with so many strange ingredients, including kale and a whole bunch of other things, that it became something of a viral video as well, and that so many people were laughing at it, the Disney gumbo, and there were reaction videos. No, no, oh God, please, no. It was so embarrassing to Disney that they actually pulled that video from YouTube. But if you look around and you look up Disney gumbo, you will probably still be able to find it. And yeah, I'm pleased to say that at no point in my cooking um, experience did I ever try making the Disney gumbo. Oh boy. Man, I'm glad about that. But I do believe we are done because the rice should be ready by now. Pull this over here. The rice back in. Pull the rice over here, I meant. I think I can even turn off the heat on the cast iron pot. And here comes the rice. And there we are. Put this lid down. Ah, With the rice. Oh, yeah. It took a while before I learned that, yes, I mean, there was the old ratio of 2 cups of water for 1 cup of rice, and that actually was a, a little bit too high. So I did have since reduced the amount of water, and the result is we have rice here that is not overly sticky or saturated with water or gummy. Nope, we've got ourselves some good rice. And having said that, I think the last thing we should do tonight is, well, what else? Put together a bowl of our gumbo. Hmm. And that's the last time I'll try using that fake accent on the word gumbo, I promise. Oh, yeah, I did. I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I entitled this video, Uh-oh, Gumbo. I don't know if anybody at all gets that reference. I admit it's these days it's probably very obscure. But nonetheless, do it over here. Here's our rice. And best of all, here's some gumbo. Put this on and add a little bit of that liquid gold. And there we are, still steaming hot. Need to dig out a fork here. Oh, actually, even better than a fork. My spork. But here it is, folks. Here is our gumbo, made in a vintage Birmingham stove and range cast iron Dutch oven. Got the sausages, it has the okra, it's got a lot of chicken in it, the Trinity, and of course, we've got the rice. Mm. Oh, oh yeah. Ooh, I can taste the spice in there too, between the cayenne and the Old Bay seasoning. So this is definitely going to be something to keep anybody warm. And that's good because apparently the temperature is going to get down into the 30s for the first time here in New York this season. So we're just in time. But there we go. I better get a couple of pictures as well to post on Facebook. 1 second. Mm, mm. Oh, hot. And I don't mean spicy. Oh, I think I got to let this stuff cool up. Ooh, I'm tasting the smoke in there. I do believe the roux was a success. So, yeah, I am quite happy. Let's get a couple of photos of this. And then I think we will be wrapping it up for the evening. So once again, I can only thank everybody so much for your patience, and once again, I can only hope you enjoyed it. Here's a nice picture of this. And having said that, here we go. Now I got to clean up my mess. Anyway, as always, though, as I've said enough times, I've talked until I was blue in the face because this has been so much fun. And you folks here are really what makes this so much fun. I mean, talking to myself for an hour and a half does not have the appeal as does talking on a live video and knowing that you folks are there listening and making your snarky comments. And please, I approve of your snarky comments. That is part of what makes all of this so much fun. Right? And want everybody here to have fun because that's really the whole point. And you folks are what make this live video so much fun. And thank you so much to everybody for showing up. Yes, take care, Floridians. Definitely. Everybody in Florida, do buckle down. Please don't be like those idiots who like to go out surfing in the hurricane, or, when the news always flies somebody out there to stand there in the middle of the hurricane and get all of those pictures of the waves crashing on the beach and maybe a house collapsing or a boat capsizing or the like, and they always get a couple of shots of those idiots on the beach, yeah, screaming and surfing the hurricane and all that. Please don't be one of them. Instead, just buckle down and keep safe. And most of all, though, yeah, oh yeah, good night. Thanks for the show. Well, best of luck making gumbo as well. Yeah, it is easy actually. It does take patience. It took some time to cook this. As I mentioned, I cooked that chicken well in advance, for instance. But have patience. Do this on an afternoon when you have a lot of time, and the results I can practically guarantee. Guarantee that you will not be disappointed. And thank you everybody again for showing up here tonight. Oh yeah, well, I would probably give it away. I wouldn't sell it. As I said already, I've got to share this with my neighbors now and see how they like it. And having said that, I do believe it is time to head out because it is still a Wednesday night and a work night. And thank you everybody for staying up and thank you for showing up. And I hope we'll see you all next week. Have a good evening, everybody. As they've said in 2001, see you next Wednesday.